Okay. Hi, everyone. I am very excited to be here. I'm not sure that Sheila has been able to jump on yet, but hopefully she'll be able to jump in and join the conversation. So I know that there's a bit of a delay, so at some point, please let me know that you guys are or are not hearing what I'm saying. But I'm really excited that you guys are here with us today. Sheila Davis and I'm Dawn Chitwood, and we are the Advice Chicks, and we are presenting to you today to talk about the three things successful entrepreneurs do. And it's my honor to be able to be here with you to share some tidbits that we've learned along the way and we feel strongly are essential components of success, specifically the unique journey of a solopreneur. So I just want to get started to tell you a little bit about my story. I am a serial entrepreneur. This is my third business. My first business was a online grocery delivery service. I lived in a tourist industry, and I did an online grocery delivery service for the tourists in Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. I went on to buy a restaurant, which I did with my husband for several years. And so I did the brick and mortar business. And then we decided to move for our family and move to the mountains of North Carolina in Asheville. And we are here to start over for the kids and be in a good place for them. So our priorities changed, and hence the online business came into play. And I started doing what I always loved to do, which was marketing, and I did web design, and really got into the online business world. So, one of the things, the reason why I'm so passionate about this particular webinar that we're doing today is because I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, and I was taught a very pragmatic way of doing things. You go to school, you get a degree, formal training, you get the business plan, you take cautious risks, and there was a whole lot of missing pieces for me, and it's taken me quite a few years to kind of get to the point where I realized that there were some barriers to my success, that I really, just some foundational tools that I wasn't using that really needed to be happening in order for me to pave the way to success. So I'm really passionate about sharing the stuff with you today, because if I can save you just a few minutes, an hour, a month, a year, who knows, if I can save you any time at all in that whole journey to success, I will have done my job, and I'll feel very, very good about that. It'll be gratifying. So Sheila was going to tell the story about how we kind of met. We have actually never met in person. She found me on LinkedIn. I wrote a blog post with the title, How to Design a Kick-Ass Twitter Header. Well, that provoked a little bit of debate over my use of off-color language, and Sheila jumped in, and we ended up connecting, and the relationship started from there, and we ended up talking over the phone, and we ended up on Google Hangouts just like we are today. And we had talked about this business over a year ago, and here it is. It's come to fruition, and so we work really well together. I'm very excited to be working with her. I wish she was here to tell her story. I know she wanted to share that with you guys, but she is also very passionate about filling in those missing pieces. So without further ado, let's get started. Make sure to grab a glass of water, a pen and paper, and be ready to open your mind to make the changes in your business. Some of the things we talk about over the course of the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to talk, the presentation should be about 30 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A, and you guys can ask some questions about some of the points that we brought up. So make sure to grab a glass of water, a pen and paper, like I said, and some of the things we talk about might be hard to digest, and there might be some resistance. But if you're open to understanding all this and identifying some issues that you have in your own journey, you'll find great rewards on the other side. And for those of you who desire a higher level of support and continuing the journey, if this resonates with you, we will not only be sharing additional free tools and the chance to win some amazing prizes at the end of the webinar, but we also have this really great program that we have carefully designed that will offer you the chance to really hone in on your unique roadmap to success and implement that. So please stay tuned till the end. We'll be talking about the bonuses, and we'll be talking about the drawing, and we'll be talking about that program at the end. So without further ado, let's get started. So what we will cover today, we are going to bring awareness to the magnanimous importance of, number one, clarity and specificity of your goals and visions, and tips on developing a sustainable plan of action, not just as a New Year's resolution or that, initial charge, but habitually all year long. It's all about making habits. Number two, you will discover the number one reason most businesses fail and some tactical strategies to overcome those obstacles. And number three, the dangerous balance of preparation and action, and how to identify that critical point when preparation becomes a barrier to your success. So without further ado, let's peel back the layers and uncover some of those underlying pearls of wisdom that just might be the missing piece for some of you. We will be imparting some tactical strategies you can start implementing immediately, today. And as always, creating that awareness is a large part of the puzzle, paving a path for you that is clear and much easier to traverse. Also, just remember that even if this is stuff that you already know, just the practice of remembering and being aware is super duper important to crystallizing change. So I like analogies, and it's just simply another way of thinking about things and looking through a different lens. So I want you to consider this. You're taking a trip. What's the typical process? You decide where you're going. You pack. You get out and go, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be in that order, but for the purpose of this exercise, we'll assume this is the natural progression we're going to take. So where are you going on your trip? You have to plug in a destination if you want the GPS to take you there. I'm sure that you get the analogy that we're talking about your business journey here. So to get started, I want to plant a seed for you. You don't have to know the answer right away, or perhaps you've already given this thought and the answer will come quickly. I want you to think of your perfect 10 career. If you find yourself saying something like, I want to be able to pay my bills and get by, you're not reaching high enough. If you find yourself saying, I want to make a 7-figure income, you're not being specific enough. The purpose of this exercise is to gain clarity and specificity of your outcome goal. This may be an uncomfortable exercise at first because we're just not practiced and we haven't done it. But I challenge you to reflect on your values and think big and dig deep. Speak in the present tense as if it were happening right now. Don't overthink it. It doesn't matter how it's going to happen. You just want to keep that visualization in mind. What does it look like to you? More importantly, what does it feel like? I'll walk you through my example visualization. I'm boarding a plane to Boston to speak at a conference. It's the last one of a booked solid year. And since it's so close to the holidays, my husband and kids are along for the ride so we can make a vacation out of most of the weekend. The familiar feeling creeps in, which I used to identify with anxiety, but now I just realize it's just pure excitement. I'll also be promoting my third book and publication. It's so amazingly gratifying to be able to connect with people in a way that inspires them and helps them achieve their dreams. Okay, so you see how this works. I want you to practice this. It's a super fun tool that simply feels good, and you just might find that it opens doors for you and things start to happen. Whether visualization is to blame is of no consequence to the outcome. The caveat to all of this is just be sure not to fall prey to rigid thinking where anything less is a failure or you can't get there fast enough. You know, it's about the journey, like we said in the last slide, and this should be fun. It all should be fun. So here's a little example of visualization quantified. There was a study done by some medical researchers and scientists or sports coaches back in the 1980 Olympics, and they had 4 test groups. They had Group 1 doing 100% physical training, Group 2 doing 75% physical training and 25% visualization, Group 3 doing 50-50, and Group 4 doing 75% visualization and 25% physical training. The results for me were surprising, and they may surprise you. It turns out the 4th group that only did 25% physical training and 75% visualization outperformed and showed the greatest athletic improvement among all the groups. And furthermore, in addition to that revelation, the Soviet coaches and doctors also concluded that it helped people's overall confidence because they were visualizing themselves actually winning the event and how good that felt. And it increased their ability to remain focused and alert, and it eliminated all those other distractions. You were really focused on the end goal. So another exercise that I'd like to go over with you today, and you can do this on your own and go back like with the visualization exercise, and I want you to practice that. That's something that you can do over and over again. You can do it in the car when you're driving, whatever. This is something here, this activity, I want you to list all your daily activities, and this is something that should be done routinely as well. And when you list all your daily activities, and you look at all of the things, you know, I want you to look at these questions. I want you to ask, are they supporting your outcome goal? What was that goal, that perfect 10 career? And are your daily activities supporting that perfect 10 career? If they're not, then you might consider eliminating what doesn't serve you. And I don't mean, you know, the self-care and the fun and all of those other compartments of our lives, you know, our lives are responsible. They all support our outcome goal. They're very important. Having balance in all those areas is important. So it's not about, I'm not talking here about just being productive and everything has to be about work. You have to have that balance and that rest. So eliminating what doesn't serve you. I want you to look at the things that you can delegate. Get help. That's huge. I don't know if you're like me, but I mean, I came out of the womb thinking I could do everything myself. And as a society, we place so much value on that do-it-yourself type mentality. But there's no shame in getting help, and that's the only way we're going to be successful, is to get help and outsource our weaknesses. Minimizing distractions. So making sure that when we have our activities, that we're focusing on those particular activities. You know, if I'm with my family, I need to be with my family. If I'm doing work stuff, and that'll help all of the areas of our lives. So scheduling cushions. If you're like me, I schedule back-to-back appointments and tasks or whatnot, and I find myself running from one thing to the next. And we need those cushions of time in between our activities to kind of prepare and to integrate what we've learned or what we're doing. Scheduling self-care and fun, just like I spoke about, it's integral to the balance of the whole picture. And then just check in with yourself. When I looked at my list, and I do this periodically, and when I look at my list, I look at the things and say, you know, check in with myself. Is this something that I feel good about and that I want to be doing? So if you have those kind of drags on why it's something that's keeping you from wanting to do it, just check in with yourself and figure out why that might be. So with the visualization, we were able to determine our outcome goal. Now, there's a difference. There's two types of goals that I want to talk about. There's outcome goals and there's process goals. Both are very important, and you need balance in both. When I speak of the outcome goal, I'm talking about that long-term, perfect 10 visualization. You have a lot less control over that in the short term in your day-to-day activities. So there's a lot of exterior circumstances that can really control that. So you have less control over the outcome, and that's more about your vision. Whereas the process goals are about short-term activities that are going to get you closer to your outcome goal. You have more control over the process goals. They're all about making habits and daily activities, those to-do lists. So having a clear and specific outcome goal, and by eradicating those activities that aren't supporting your end goals, you have effectively prepared yourself for sustainable goal setting. The part of the whole process that if you're able to make a habit of it will make your whole life easier. So you'll be putting a system into place, and systems just work. If you think about it in terms of like big corporations, you know, they have weekly meetings to prepare for what they're going to be doing. So they have these goal-setting meetings. They're vital to the heartbeat of their company. It just works. So putting this system in place is very important. I personally have a weekly goal-setting meeting. I have an accountability buddy whom I meet with. She's an artist. She's in a different industry. She's able to give me a right brain perspective on things. So she brings like a different perspective. So I'm really appreciative of the fact that I've got somebody who can kind of offer a fuller perspective and other views on how to go about doing things. So I recommend, you know, goal setting is something that you can do on your own, but it's far more effective if you can pick somebody, one person or in a small group setting, to do this with on a regular basis, because you're going to get that much needed support and accountability. Now, we meet on a weekly basis, and we do Monday mornings, and that's important to me because I do it early Monday morning. It really gets my week off to a good start, and it sets my plan of action for the week. We do our process goals, and we use the SMART goal setting method. And this SMART goal setting method is a very popular method that asks you list your goals, and you ask yourself, are these goals specific? Usually, you can break it down 5 times, you know, whereas you ask the goal, okay, how can I break this down even further? And after 5 times, it's usually at that point specific enough that it's going to be effective. So ask yourself if your goals are specific. Are they measurable? How do you know that you've completed your goals? Are they attainable? What obstacles are going to get in your way? Are they realistic? Is this something that I can do realistically and timely? Do you have a deadline for your goals? That's very important. You know, as a solopreneur or an entrepreneur in small business, one of the benefits of being an entrepreneur is that we get to set our own schedules, you know. So that's really great that we get to call the shots. Sometimes that can be a pitfall. So make sure that you are setting your own schedule and you have a routine and you're making sure to do these goal setting, making a habit. That's going to be the theme of this entire presentation, is making habits. So this effectively brings us to the second part of the presentation, which is we're going to discover the #1 reason most businesses fail. And here it is, the drum roll, please. The #1 reason most businesses fail is you. Well, not you being responsible for the failure of businesses collectively, but there's a good chance that you've had a hand in your own quote-unquote failed ventures. And I use the word failure with much hesitation because I don't believe there's such a thing as failure in the sense of the word. All these so-called failures are merely building blocks of experience and necessary learning. We have to go through our failures and that experience in order to get to that success. So what are the ways that we get in our own way? Unfortunately, the list can be lengthy, but take comfort in knowing that you can get out of your own way. It takes awareness and practice, and it ain't easy, but the rewards are great on the other side of change. So, common method of self-sabotage number 1, comparing ourselves to everyone else's highlight reels. We tend to compare our whole lives to other people's highlight reels. Oftentimes, we don't fully realize the limitations this puts on our ability to move forward. So if you think about your heroes and your mentors, those that you admire, typically when we get that picture in our mind, we don't see their flaws, we see their success. But we concentrate on our own flaws. We know our whole picture, and we tend to focus on the mistakes that we've made. So when you're looking at, like, we look at Richard Branson's empire and we see what he has, not what he went through to get there. And we regard Albert Einstein as a genius, but we don't pay much mind to the struggles that came with all that. And this is the first self-imposed limitation that many, many people lose ground to. And just to kind of show you the power of this, I want to tell a couple stories. So here's a story about a young boy from humble beginnings who gets expelled from school for forgery. He goes on to complete his grade school education and ends up with an apprenticeship following his love for machinery. He drops out of college later and never gets a degree. He fell seriously ill and recovered and went on to interview with a major player in his industry, but was turned down. At the encouragement of his neighbors, he started his own business. This man happens to be Soichiro Honda, and that major player in his industry that he got turned down by was Toyota. Now, this is pretty amazing to me to read these kinds of stories, because you just wouldn't think that that was something that these people, we see them in the pinnacle of their careers, and we see all their highlights like we're talking about. So here's another story, and this one's probably going to be a little bit easier for you to determine who it is by the time we get to the end of it. So this woman was raised by a single mother struggling to make ends meet and endured sexual abuse at the hands of family members. She was later fired from her job as a television reporter as she was declared unfit for television. She later built one of the largest empires and one of the world's wealthiest people. This woman is Oprah Winfrey. And lately I've been reading in the news as I was doing the research for this presentation, there were a lot of stories about how she's been going through this public battle with herself because the new television network that she had launched, I mean, it's probably not so new anymore, but how it's endured some harsh criticism and it's not as successful as she hoped, and all of the struggle she's going through that. And so it's just so interesting to see and inspiring to know that these people go through the same struggles, if not more. And the struggles are actually the catalyst for success. Most people don't get over that first hill of failures. They quit, and they're scared, and the fear overtakes them. So just make sure that you are reframing and using these failures as a building block for your success, because that's what they are. Common method self-sabotage number 2 is the not enough time fallacy. And how many times do we hear ourselves saying there's just not enough time in the day? The idea that we don't have enough time is a very common barrier to our productivity. There are a variety of places this comes from, but in essence, it's merely a deep-rooted thought pattern that we've accepted as the truth. One of the most enlightening things that I was able to do for myself was what we spoke about earlier in the presentation, and writing down everything I was doing at that particular point in time. I was going through some serious overwhelm, and there was some major frustration in the discrepancy between the amount of money I was bringing in and the time that I felt like I was putting in. Something was seriously amiss. Well, that simple exercise led to an epiphany that I was doing a ton of tasks for free. You know, the emails that you're not incorporating into your packages, the brain pickers, the favors. This was just something that when I was able to bring awareness to it, I was able to get rid of those things that weren't serving me, or I was able to find a way to make it serve me. So with the emails and incorporating that into the time that I spend and encouraging people to schedule a strategy session with me, and you can find the answers to this in great depth in these products or programs or by scheduling a call. So the not enough time fallacy is exactly what that says. It's a fallacy. If you look at this chart showing the average use of time working adults ages 25 to 54 with children, so how they spend their day, it'll give you an interesting perspective on how many hours are in the day and how we spend our time doing certain activities. And so when we see this and we're able to list all of our activities and get an idea of where we're putting our time, we're able to bring awareness and really eradicate those things that are a waste of our time or we're not enjoying. And so the things, and creating things that are supporting our end goal. This is an interesting way to look at it as well. In our society, we have become so ingrained with the idea of an 8-hour workday, and how this really doesn't support our maximum optimal productivity, because according to this concept of ultradian rhythm, we are only able to focus on any given task for 90 to 120 minutes. Afterwards, a 20 to 30 minute break is required for us to get the renewal to achieve high performance for our next task again. So according to this chart, if you were to spend 90 minutes doing something, and that's the time block that we have for maximum productivity or maximum focus, then that would say at 45 minutes, we're reaching our peak activity. Anything more than 45 minutes, we're on our way back down again. So this kind of shows us, if we think about it as energy management, if we are allowed to allow ourselves to schedule these time blocks and work within these constraints, then we will be making a better use of our time. So some tips to beat the not enough time fallacy. We can work with deadlines, and we work better with deadlines, period. One of the benefits of being an entrepreneur is that we have freedom to call a lot of shots. I said that. So the ultimate productivity is achieved when we set deadlines and pair it with an appropriate reward. So that kind of goes back to the time blocks. So dedicating time blocks to tasks and making sure that you honor that. There's an app that I use called Focus Booster app, and you can look that up and download it to your computer. And then you set like these 45-minute time blocks and then make yourself take the break. I personally do 25 minutes, and then I take a 5-minute break, and I get up and I stretch, and then I get back down and I do tasks again. So whatever works best for you. Eliminating distractions. This is huge. And I'm going to tell a little bit of a story for you, which I believe that most people can relate to. I know it's a big one for me. And it's how many people can relate to getting on the computer to complete a task, whether it's for a client or you're doing something for your own business. The phone rings and it's another client that sets you off on another task. So it leaves that task open in one of the growing number of your open tabs. You hear the notification that a message just came in on Facebook, and you pop over there to see what that was all about, and you get distracted by all the pictures of the cute babies. So a message pops up in the meantime in the corner from your Gmail chat, and someone calls you on Skype. What were you doing again in the first place? I know it's a bit hyperbolic, but being so connected in so many different ways with email and social media and being on the computer in so many ways for people to get in touch with us, it is a very common problem for these distractions to kind of take over our productivity. So the bottom line is, no notifications is one of the best things you can do for your time management. The last one is an interesting concept, schedule serendipity, and it's kind of somewhat of an oxymoron. I mean, serendipity is something that happens when you least expect it, so how can you schedule those unexpected times? But it is a very valuable phenomenon in business, and actually something that is starting to trend. Big companies like Google are starting to offer their employees serendipity vacations, which allows them that time that they're not sitting in front of their desk or in their cubicle or wherever you may work. And it allows you that time where creativity flows and serendipity can actually happen. So it's important for us to remember how valuable of a concept this is to our own business. Serendipity are those happy accidents that occur when we're not expecting them to. And it's hard for that to happen when we're glued to our work. So take time to allow for those unexpected happenings. Meditate, take a walk, go for a drive, whatever. Schedule it in if you have to, if you're one of those people that won't take the fun times because it's not on your calendar. So schedule it on your calendar. Call it serendipity. This was a good quote that I liked. It's not enough if you're busy. The question is, what are you busy about? I mean, how many times we all hear, well, I was busy, I got busy. You know, we've got to really think, what were we busy about? And what are we doing the things that are important to us? Common method of self-sabotage number 3, and this is huge. I am sure that everyone at some point struggles with the I'm not capable. This comes in many different forms. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy enough. Why will people listen to me? I'm not an expert in my field. So it's very important to beat that inner critic, because what that is those are those inner voices in our head. The negative Nancys that are telling us we can't, we can't, we can't. And we all have them. We didn't start out that way, thinking that we weren't good enough or smart enough. Those thoughts came from an experience or something someone said that made us feel that way. And self-doubt is a killer. And we have the power to choose not to believe those negative voices. It took time for us to start believing them, so it'll take time and practice for us to start not believing them. So just being aware when it creeps in and being able to identify those voices. So here's some ways that we can beat that inner critic. We can rewire our brains, just knowing that, the fact that we can change our reactions. One of the big things in rewiring is the reframe. The reframe, I love this practice. It piggybacks off the first idea of rewiring. And we rewire with the reframe repeatedly. So converting our so-called weaknesses, all those things that our inner voices are berating us for, and we need to convert those into strengths. And saying things like, I'm not disorganized, I'm creative, and that really benefits me because this is what I'm able to offer clients for that positive trait. I'm not stubborn, I'm tenacious. I'm not nervous, I'm excited. So I watched this is really helpful to me, this was profound. I watched a Marie Forleo video about public speaking, and I don't know if you are familiar with her, but she's a very popular marketer, and I would definitely check her out. She offers some great video blogging tips, or on her video blog, she offers some great marketing tips. And one of the things that she said was, this particular video was about public speaking. And she said it was all about the reframe. Instead of saying, you know, I feel nervous about getting up and talking in front of somebody or doing video, replace that word nervous with something. It can be silly. Her word, which I straight up stole and use, is Shazam. And so instead of saying, you know, I feel really nervous about what I'm getting ready to do, replace it. I feel Shazam. And it is amazing how that changes your whole mind frame and how you feel, like physiological responses in your body. Your body starts to relax. You start to laugh. You smile. So when you're replacing that freaking out feeling with I'm feeling Shazam, you can really feel your whole situation just shift. So here's something a little bit further. This might sound silly, but giving that inner critic a name, preferably something silly. So giving it a face and a name. Draw it, doodle it on paper, imagine it. What does it look like? Is it a he? Is it a she? What's her name? I'll share with you. I just started doing this recently, and it has been effective. Mine is Maxine. Maxine is that old woman on the front of the Hallmark cards that is always giving that scowling and spouting that contemptuous humor on the front of the greeting cards. And so I have a picture of her in my head. So whenever I hear those inner voices, now she's got a name. So it's really hard for me to take her seriously. And I know it sounds silly, but try it. It works. It helps. It makes you smile. It gets you over those little periods of time that if you focus on the negative and you don't have a way to give it a face or get out of it, then you tend to spiral into overwhelm, and it can really shut you down. So in another way to help is to call a friend. And you call a friend, family member, a trusted buddy, colleague. Get help. I mean, shame only works if you keep it a secret. So be authentic. There's no shame in telling somebody that you're struggling with self-doubt or fear. And telling the right people will remind you that everyone feels that way. And sometimes you'll be reminded of how awesome you are, and of course that helps too. The next one is to practice affirmations. And this can come in many different ways. It's all about having faith and practicing those daily affirmations. If you're religious or spiritual, practice those snippets of well-placed inspiration. They can be constant reminders of the positive things in your life. Think about the one prominent message that your inner critic is always dumping on you, and counter that with the positive and put it on your desktop wallpaper, your screensaver on your phone, a Post-it note on your bathroom mirror. I signed up for something called Notes from the Universe. It's at tut.com, TUT.com. And they're daily positive reminders that really resonate with me, and they come to my inbox first thing in the morning, and it just gets my day off to a good start. So however you need to do that, figure out that system for you, what affirmations work for you, and make sure that you practice them. The last thing is to highlight your positive attributes. This is huge too, to list your strengths and your accomplishments and the things that you're grateful for. The practice of doing this breeds more positivity. And just knowing the good things, you think about more good things, and then more good things happen to you. So they say the secret to having it all is believing that you already do. And I think that's a very profound statement. It's very simple, but profound. As Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So beat that inner critic and don't give them consent anymore. Next common method of self-sabotage, and I think a lot of people can relate to this too. I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I make this much money. I'll be happy when I finish this project. This kind of self-sabotage breeds regret because it's just a habit that resets itself whenever you achieve whatever it is that you think will make it all better. It's on to the next thing. So don't make your well-being contingent upon any external circumstances. And don't mistake your idea of success for happiness. Nobody's where they're going to be 5 years from now, and it's all part of the journey. As William Arthur Ward said, happiness is an inside job. It starts from within. Common method of self-sabotage number 5, beliefs about money. And these beliefs can come in several different forms. These are some of the things that I battled with. Money for me is a big issue. I have this emotional attachment to money. I believe, it's hard. It's hard to come by. It's scarce. It's the measure of my success. People won't pay that, which goes back to the value, and I'm not smart enough, I'm not capable enough. I can't afford help, which is on that scarcity issue. So one profound thing to me that was very an epiphany, an aha moment, was I met with somebody to overcome some of those self-limiting beliefs. And we talked about how I had that money. I believed that through hard work, the only way that I was going to achieve that success and that money was through hard work. It had to be hard, or otherwise it wasn't valuable. She brought it to my attention. She asked, well, what things are easy in your life? Think about the things that are easy in your life. For me, it was relationships and friendships. I have good relationships with my family and friends. And she said, well, do you value those relationships? I said, of course, more than just about anything. So the logic is, well, then why does success and money have to be elusive and hard if the things that are easy in your life come easy and you value them still. And so that was an aha moment for me. And so many people have this attachment to money, and you invest so much energy into it. And it really brought some attention to me that maybe the things that were hard for me, if I didn't invest so much energy into it, maybe they would be easier. So it's just something to think about. The last method that we're going to talk about of self-sabotage, and I'm sure there are many more, and I would love to hear what you think about these methods of self-limiting beliefs. And this one is the fear of failure. And more likely, it's the fear of success. So many times we're so afraid to put ourselves out there because we think that we're afraid to fail. And I just wonder, and I want to pose the question, what are the chances that we're actually scared to succeed? A famous author, Marianne Williamson, she wrote the book Return to Love, and she said, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate, it's that we're powerful beyond measure. And this was really interesting to me because I think that commonly we really think it is about failing, but more than likely, we're scared of that commitment and that visibility and actually being successful. So that's something that I definitely think that we should all question and be aware of. And to do one thing every day that scares us and to push us into those boundaries and overcoming our fears and being successful. Oprah Winfrey said failure is just movement. And I like that. It's very simple. Failure is just movement towards our goals. They're just building blocks. So this gets us into the last portion of the webinar, and it's the shortest portion, and it's about preparation versus action. It's about the precarious balance between preparation and action, and when the critical point when preparation becomes a barrier to our success. Because how many times do we feel like we need to get the entire, everything needs to be perfect before we put it out there to the world? The problem is that we may never put it out there. So in order to get fuel for action, we need to stay in the present. Staying in the present means just doing what's right in front of you. Those process goals, look at your process goals and worry about those. Don't let the domino effect get a hold of you and start thinking about the next task and the one after that and so on and so forth. Then put it out there to the world, like I'm saying. When you state it out loud, especially to other people, you're establishing that accountability. One of the best ways I've found to keep myself accountable is to start promoting my intention. I put it on Facebook, run ads, whatever you need to do to hold yourself accountable. Then remembering those process goals and keeping true to those and keep making that habit. Studies show that only 3% of the population write down their goals and make habits to achieve them. That is so low, and it seems like we should be able to overcome that low percentage, that it should be much higher. So making a practice of listing the things that you're grateful for and recognizing your accomplishments. Far too often we focus on that which we haven't done rather than what we have. And that can stop us from forward motion and action as that feeling tends to spiral into frustration and overwhelm. Anticipation is usually far worse than the action, and this is so true. How many times do we just get that anxiety over a task and doing something, and then you do it and you go, well, that wasn't that bad. If you're thinking about doing it, do it. And if you can do it right then, do it. Be mindful of overdoing it. There's a time for do and there's a time for rest, but make sure that you're taking the action and eliminate the excuses. If you find yourself saying, well, I didn't do it because of this, or I can't do it because of this, really think about that. Stop yourself. Be aware of it. Think about that statement, and then think about how you can or why you can't, really. And just eliminate those excuses from your vocabulary. Because imperfect action is better than no action at all. So, and I wanted to share with you, that's exactly, this practice is something that we're not only preaching, but that we're practicing ourselves. Sheila and I had come up with the concept, and we wanted to share these ideas with you, and we wanted to teach other people and impart this wisdom. And so we came up with the concept for the webinar, and we scheduled it, and we advertised it, and then we created it. So that's what it's about. Take that action in your own business, and you will work to get it done. And it's okay if it's not perfect when it comes out. This has not been perfect. We started out with technical difficulties, and I'm sure that there's going to be more imperfections, and that's okay because we're doing. So I hope that this has inspired you to break through some barriers in your business and life in general, because it's all holistic, and that you've learned some tactical strategies that you can carry with you in your toolbox. We wanted to really give you some tools that you can start implementing and that would inspire you today. If this material did resonate with you and you feel there are some areas that you'd like to delve a little deeper or get a higher level of support, we do have a special program we want to share with you that was designed to determine and break through those barriers and really give you the tools to make new habits that are absolutely essential to your success. And this program is called Create Your Prosperity Plan, a program designed for success. And what you'll get with it is over-the-shoulder video training with accompanying workbooks, downloadable audios to take with you on the go, guided exercises carefully designed to work with your unique style and values to help create a customized system that works for you, membership to our closed mastermind group for ongoing support and accountability, and exclusive discounts on future success programs. And normally this program is going to be $197. But for everybody that was with us today on the webinar, if you take advantage of this deal by midnight tomorrow night, Friday night, the program is only $97. And it will be a 3-module course, and we will go with you. There's going to be some tactical exercises that you're going to take, and it's all about determining an individualized plan for your particular barriers and creating a plan of action that's going to work for you, habits that will work for you. Not that we think are going to be the best for you, but what is actually going to work best for you. This is where you can find the program, and we're going to put the link in the chat, and we'll also email this to all of the attendees today. And we also, for everybody that signed up, we are giving away our Social Media Essentials Toolkit, which gives you some really, really great, valuable tips on your social media efforts for your business. Everybody that attended live, that's here listening to this right now, is going to receive our business assessment. Now, one of the prizes that we're going to enter you, for all the people that showed up today, you'll be entered into a drawing. And the first prize is going to be the one-on-one. It's going to be a business analysis based on your assessment. And I am blanking on the second prize. We have 2 prizes, so Sheila's going to have to add that to the chat, and it will have to be a surprise until she puts that in there. So I am so thankful for all of you guys showing up today and for listening to what we had to say, and my true desire is to hopefully have inspired or educated or entertained, and that's what I always say about people's internet content, is that if it's not one of those 3 things, then we're failing. So I hope that I've done one or all of those 3 things today. And I'd like to open it up for questions because we have a few more minutes. So that should show up very soon. And I'll ask Sheila to send me some questions if anybody has any questions about the program or anything that we went over today. The course can be taken later. So the way this works out is it's going to be drip fed. So, yep, Sheila answered it. Sheila, I see the names, not seeing any questions. So, oh, I want to remind everybody that if you're here and you want to be entered into the drawing, please be sure to let us know. Awesome. Well, I'm not seeing any questions, but you can get in touch with us at advicechicks.com. And there's places to submit questions there. So we welcome you to send in your questions there if you have any other questions about us or about what we're offering. So we're excited to work with some of you and hear from you guys and look forward to the next steps. Thank you guys for being here. Oh, I am seeing them. Okay, so Sheila just messaged me, and our winners for the prizes are Pam and Octavia. They are our winners for the prizes. The first one being, let's see here. The first one being the analysis of their business assessment. And please chime in. Did you ever tell me the second prize, Sheila? The second prize is the brand review and Advice Chicks one-on-one help. Is that correct? Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.